Hello, everybody. So today I want to talk about 7 eat and or drink stocks. And really briefly, why do I invest in these stocks? Well, they're part of neo brands, new products that are taking on legacy brands. Many of these brands are actually promoted through social media, right? This is especially true for Dutch Brothers, for Celsius, even say something like a Shake Shack, Cava. These brands are very prominent on, say, platforms like TikTok, very promoted on TikTok. But there's also a timeless aspect, in my view, to investing in the eat and drink by category, which is like this is literally an industry, literally a product that everybody needs. Everybody eats, everybody drinks, and therefore this product is a time honored, as a very long history in business, right? It's a business that has always been around, and it's a business that, in my view, will always be around. We'll always want to eat, and we've always been eating. I mean, that sounds very obvious, but that's not the case for many of the stocks that I follow, right? This one has this consistency to it, has this long-lasting potential to it, which is what makes me covering eat and drink stocks, very different from when I cover new technologies or stocks in really innovative spaces. So now that I got that out of the way, another point is that obviously all of these stocks have some sort of a hedonic aspect to it, some sort of getting people to come back to it. It gets people addicted, right? Dutch Brothers or Celsius, what is that? Well, that's coffee, right? Coffee or caffeine. Well, there's a reason why that coffee or caffeine works so well, is that once you have it, you need to keep having it, and so you have kind of a built-in demand. And I would argue, maybe this is controversial, but I would argue that a lot of the foods, say, even Cava, which claims to be health oriented, it's very good. As far as the calories goes, though, I'm not so sure. It's kind of like the whole story of Chipotle being healthy, and you get a 2,000 calorie burrito. Is it really that healthy? Cava kind of feels the same way to me. But if you look at a Cava or a Shake Shack or a Portillo or a Krispy Kreme, or literally savory pictures of savory dishes on the DoorDash app, this is all also playing on the instinct of our addictions to fats and to sugars. And there's a reason why there's no such thing as a successful salad chain, which, by the way, had me wonder, when I looked at the Portillos logo, had me wonder why they wouldn't put pizza in there, right? Pizza is very profitable. Perhaps they should sell pizza instead of salads. Just a thought. So let me get started. So Dutch Brothers, frankly, it's a fine valuation as 0.56. These are businesses that are very easy to understand for most people, and thus the valuation is going to be higher. But it's growing fast. Dutch Brothers revenue growth is at 26%, and I see it growing in my area of Texas. You see it more and more. I actually tried it the other day. I thought it was very good. I thought it was better than Starbucks, in my opinion. I thought the coffee was of high quality, but where they shine is really the footprint of those stores. It's only drive-through. It's a tiny footprint. It's usually in a parking lot of some other business. They can build them very quickly, and so under the guise of this quote unquote hipster idea of what a coffee shop looks like, that allows them to get away with things that Starbucks can't get away from easily. Like Starbucks is having a hard time getting away from not having the dining room, right, and removing the dining room, right. That's what's expensive. Dutch Brothers entirely did away with the dining room. There's no dining room. The building has a very tiny footprint. This is Dutch Brothers looks like a money making machine to me. You go to the drive-thru, you've just lost $5, and you get a good coffee. So that's a good thing, is you get a good coffee. Gross margin is frankly not that high at 27%, but unfortunately, that's the food and beverage space. But gross margins are not always the best, especially compared to software or anything like that. But the EBITDA margin is good at 15%. So Dutch Brothers, along with Celsius, which as you may have guessed, is going to be the winner of this video. They reach a 41% rule of 40, so that means it's attractive to a venture capitalist, right? It would be attractive to a high-tech investor. I'm glad that they reached that number, and it's still growing quite fast at 26%. So I like Dutch Brothers. I'm not going to buy it because I only want one stock in this space, and the stock in the eat and drink space that I own is Celsius, and so Celsius is good enough for me. But I understand why it's compelling, and if you really want to be exposed to that space, I think it's a strong option. It's a solid option, in my view, a better option than say a Starbucks, who has so much liabilities and who could get so hurt by a recession. This is not necessarily what you find for a new, quote unquote hipster brand. I hope that doesn't offend anyone if I say it's a kind of hip, but it's what it is. It's a hip brand, right? It's fancy. Anyways, Cava. Let me talk about Cava. Cava again, catching the US by storm. I see it all the time. I see people buying there all the time. I see long lines. I saw Chipotle become a thing in the US. I remember in the early 2010s, late 2000s. I remember Chipotle being a phenomenon in the US, and you surely get that same feel for Cava right now. You surely get the feel that it's becoming kind of a little phenomenon, which is why the stock performance has been excellent. But unfortunately, because of that stock performance, it doesn't do too well on my spreadsheet. If you adjust it for growth at 29%, if you look at EV over GP over revenue growth, given that high enterprise to sales value and that high growth rate, but relatively not high enough for it to earn a high score at a 1.2, it looks like a relatively expensive stock in the food and beverage space, at least on my spreadsheet. And it doesn't achieve a rule of 40, although, you could give it an honorary rule of 40. They're essentially, they're at 38%. So profitable business. If I were interested in buying Cava, I'd like to see the stock go down a little bit. I find it a little pricey right now. Now, the stock that I do not find pricey right now, that in fact I'm growing, more and more into and getting comfortable having a bigger position in that stock, the Celsius Holdings. Celsius Holdings, has kind of found that sweet spot, that beverage that works in the evening and in the morning, that beverage that works for older people and younger people, the beverage that works for women as much as for men. This is kind of like this normally distributed beverage that everybody seems to be interested in for some reason. It really doesn't have a marketing that a lot of people hate. Which is not necessarily the thing of, say, a Monster beverage. And as a result of that, they're doing so well. Their partnership with Pepsi is allowing them to expand in the UK, noteworthyly, but also in Canada. They have a strong partnership. If you live in Europe, get ready to see this on your energy drinks shelves coming up pretty soon. The drink itself, so I don't know how they do it in other countries, but in the US, it's 200 milligrams of caffeine. I can guarantee you it will wake you up. It will wake you up, and you will want another one with 200 milligrams of caffeine. That's a lot of caffeine. And so some people sometimes point out the regulation, and there could be regulation in some countries against that level of caffeine. But in America, it's all about personal freedom. If you want to have 200 milligrams of caffeine, you get 3 cans a day. If you want to do that, you do that. Right? That's America. So, but in other countries of the world, they might force them to do a lower caffeine content. So we'll see how that will impact the repeatability of the business, because this is a business with strong repeat customers. Partnership with Pepsi is helping out. And of course, being in the beverage space, you get a 50% gross margin, which for a physical product is outstanding. Revenue growth is predicted to be 53%. And as a result of that explosive revenue growth next 12 months that is predicted, you get a cheap, in my view, a metric at a 0.59. This is relatively cheap compared to, say, a Cava. And they already have 22% EBITDA margin. So if you added it all up, the rule of 40 is a very high 75. Very high. That is up there with, say, a stock like Transmedics. So these are companies that are hard to find. Once you start reaching a rule of 40 that's nearing 80, That's hard to find, right? It's twice as good as the average stock that VCs are not normally interested in investing in. And so that's why I think this stock has a lot of room to run, especially if it becomes as successful as a Monster. Keeping in mind again that Monster is likely not the good reference. It's likely not the good stock to compare Celsius to, because Celsius has a much more widespread marketing. It's got a marketing that's much more appealing to much more people, right? Monster is more about hardcore sports and extreme sports. Okay, moving on to Shake Shack. So Shake Shack was really trendy about 5 years ago. I would argue. I remember going to Shake Shack maybe 2 years ago, and I remember not believing the price. I mean, the price was insane. So this is a highly priced product in my view, my humble view. Restaurants, I remember being shocked. Restaurant would have been cheaper. It would have been cheaper to go to like a traditional restaurant than to go to Shake Shack. So really they got a premium, and they got a premium pricing in their burgers. Now we're not gonna get into the theory as to what is a good burger, what is a bad burger. I honestly can't tell. I just think the revenue growth at 18% predicted next 12 months, that revenue growth is disappointing in my view. It especially compared to other stocks that we offer. The gross margin is high at 37%, not surprising given how much they charge. EBITDA margin is 10%, so you're getting further away from the rule of 40. You're at a 28, and my EV over GB over revenue growth, for example, is about the same as Celsius. So I wouldn't be interested, right? I would want to buy Celsius, a company that's actually growing 3 times as fast and that has a much higher rule of 40. Wouldn't be interested in that one. Now, talking about Portillos. So Portillos was recommended by someone in the comments section. So I figured I would add it there. There's 2 in my city. This is the kind of thing that I would need to go ahead and try before I even consider it. But I really, I try to eat healthy foods, so this is not. I'm not. I mean, maybe a salad, I suppose. I would look into there. But this is a stock that I don't know what to make out of. It is cheap. Trading over EV over sales at a 1.83. It is cheap, and that's the cheapest in there. So it's got that going for it. But it also has a lot of debt. If you look at their debt, and the predicted revenue growth is not that high at 12%. And the gross margin, given that they sell hot dogs, you would expect the gross margin to be a little higher than that. And, maybe it goes back to what I said at the beginning of the video. Maybe start selling pizza to experience some of that 80% gross margin, and it would fit their brand, right? So anyways, the EBITDA margin is still there, but you had a rule of 40 of 23. So as much as I love a cheap stock, this would not be good for me. Now, moving on to DoorDash. Now, DoorDash, of course, you may say, oh, why is DoorDash there? DoorDash is a platform. Yes, but DoorDash is intimately linked to the eating and drinking stocks. That's why I put it in there, because most people get food ordered through DoorDash. And so they're at the forefront of this digital restaurant movement, this ghost kitchen movement, this online ordering movement. A lot of people are using the product. DoorDash, I think, has a solid business model compared to, say, Uber that could be disrupted. Right, Uber might need to transition into Uber Eats if the robotaxi become a thing. But DoorDash, I think, has a very compelling business model. It's a great business, I think. What is broken when it comes to DoorDash, in my view, is the valuation. Again, the better comparison for DoorDash might be the tech space. So if you compare it to the tech space, if you compare it to any software as a service type company, you'll see the gross margin is not that great at 48%, right? In software, we're used to closer to 80%. The revenue growth is also not that great at 22%. Again, if I compare this to a software type stock, this is also not too compelling. So the valuation is compelling relative to other food and beverage stocks, but not relative to perhaps what's a better frame of analysis, which is a tech stock. And the rule of 40, they don't reach it. They're at 21%, so that would be out. And the last stock, which is a stock that I've seen trending here and there is donuts, Krispy Kreme. And so Krispy Kreme seems to be having a renewal right now. A lot of people seem to be enjoying their donuts, saying that Dunkin' Donut has lost its way. Now, I'm not a donut snob, so I don't really know about whether donuts are better or not. But from what I see, they seem to be doing pretty well selling donuts. Frankly, looks like a value play, of course, trading at less than 2 times sales, but the gross margin is not that good at 29%. The revenue growth is way too low at 9%. So this is a stock whose numbers are too low for me to be interested at. I.e., growing too slow, gross margin not high enough, too expensive. So I see much more compelling options in the eating and drinking space. Knowing that if you, and I'll conclude with this, if you invest in any of these companies based on the viral nature of these food and drink stocks on social media and things like TikTok, if that's one of the reasons to invest in that thesis, then by all means, in my view, Celsius is the, what is it, the big kahuna, as we say. Celsius is the big winner of social media, right? It's a bigger winner than any of these, and it's got better metrics, and it's got a product with a built-in biological repeat sell business model where people, if you have $200 or 200 milligrams of caffeine, you're like, oh, that Celsius is pretty good. It really wakes me up. Let me have another Celsius tomorrow, right? You've got that built-in demand. So, anyways, let me conclude. My favorite stocks in there, if I were to rank them, Celsius, which I own. It's a position I'm more and more comfortable with. I would put this as my number one favorite stock, and then I would put Dutch Brothers as my second favorite, and I am rather neutral on all of the other ones. So hopefully you found this video helpful. This was not investment advice, no financial advice. This is just entertainment. Please like, please subscribe. Thank you for watching, and have a wonderful day.